The Gull's Nest is on the air. It's time for a weekly dose of Seaside High School athletics with the Gull's Nest. If it happens on the field, in the pool, or on the court, you'll hear it here. The Gull's Nest is sponsored by Ocean Crest Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac.
Good evening and welcome to the Gull's Nest. This is Jeff Roberts, high school principal at Seaside High School.
This is Chad Smith, the head football coach at Seaside High School.
The Gull's Nest is brought to you by Ocean Crest Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac, home of the lifetime warranty.
We also want to thank our participating sponsors, Seaside Factory Outlet Center and Angelina's Pizzeria and Cafe.
Well, it's exciting to be back on the Gull's Nest. Haven't had the opportunity to do this in a while, Chad, so thanks for having me here tonight. I'd like to start off tonight by talking a little bit about the season finale, what we saw at Banks and what we take away from that. So why don't you talk to me a little bit about the last trip to Banks to wrap up the regular Quappa Seasons League?
We were traveling to Banks. We kind of had an idea of the field conditions. Field was going to be, it's the last game of the season. It's an all-grass field, and we did have some storms the week before. So we know the field was going to be wet and sloppy. I didn't expect a lot of rain when I was there, when I was checking the weather report, but in fact rained the entire game. So we kind of had a different offensive attack Friday. We went to kind of a double tight formation where we really focused on 3 or 4 running plays, running right at Banks with a couple play action passes to follow. I think the first half for us went well. We moved the ball well. We had some success run the ball. We had some success with our play action passing. And really we hung around with a team that was a top 10 team at that time. I believe at the end of the first quarter it was 14-0. So our kids played hard. And then kind of, as we move forward, it's happened all season. I think the depth was an issue. We had some kids going both ways. And so some of our kids kind of got a little bit tired, and Banks really the first half only had 3 or 4 big plays, and those big plays kind of really hurt us and put us in some of the situations that we're in. We got down 14-0 and then 21-0 at halftime.
Yeah, those conditions are always tough. I can remember traveling to Banks, and in particular a couple years ago in a late play-in round game, and it was just an absolute quagmire, and the conditions are incredibly difficult, especially when you look at our scheme and what we're trying to do. It certainly complicates things. So how did the kids react to going into more of a double tight set and running the ball right at them?
The kids enjoyed it. Obviously that's something they've done in the past, and so it's something they're used to. The kids, we put in a few new plays, not a bunch of new plays, but, a couple new plays. Some of the things that we did were similar to what we've done, just out of a different formation. And so kids adjusted well, just like they've done all year. They've been open and ready to do whatever we ask them as coaches, which is a great characteristic for these kids, and especially, because for the most part our entire team's coming back. And so that's a great thing to be able to have multiple looks, I think, offensively when you're preparing for any team.
Fantastic. So, well, all in all, when you look at the final score, 34-6, it was, I think a great night for the Gulls to finish on. What I would say is a positive note. We'd seen other teams throughout the year get blown out by Banks, and frankly, I think that was, a lot of people probably expected us to get run. And when you see the final score, it is obviously a highly competitive game, and you should be. I'm sure you're certainly proud of the kids.
Yeah, super proud. For the most part, like we talked about, they had a couple big plays, and that's kind of what hurt us. But for the most part, I think the kids competed well, and it was a good kind of send-off to get us into the off-season here and work on some of the goals that we have here in the off-season to prepare for next season, which, it's an interesting thing because, for the most part, like we talked about, the entire team's coming back. So you don't get that a lot in high school football, and so it's kind of an exciting thing to bring everybody back and see how that plays out next year.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's what going into the season we all look at and kind of point our finger at, and we knew that we were going to be super young, and in a lot of respects we're playing a JV roster in a varsity schedule. And I don't think that's any secret to the people that are familiar with the program and saw what was coming up. And it's an exciting opportunity. So I guess my question is, when we look at and reflect on the season, what things are you looking forward to, or I guess what was kind of the final message that you sent to your kids after that game in terms of where we go next year and the outlook and how we proceed from here?
What we talked about with the kids was before the game, and also a little bit at halftime, was this is your final opportunity to show us as coaches where you're at before the season concludes. So this is kind of what we talked about as coaches. At the beginning of the season, this is where we're going to leave off, and this is where we're going to see who's where, and who can do what. And so we really put that message to our kids and said, we need you. There's nothing to save it for. We need you to put it all out on the field, and so I think the kids did that. And after the game, we talked about some of the things we always talk about. After the season, we need to lift. Obviously, we're a bunch of sophomores who are need to get stronger, and I think for the most part we have a good core that's excited to do that. And so we are. That's kind of our big message. And then I told the kids, whatever they do in the winter and spring, I just want them to compete. I think that's the biggest thing, is we need to learn how to be the best competitor that we can be. And so that was my most important kind of message to those kids. If you're thinking about doing a winter sport, I really encourage you to do that so you can compete against other kids.
Yeah, and that's the exciting thing, being at a small 4A school, and that doesn't change. That's our enrollment hasn't changed for the years that I've been here. We've hovered right around that 430, 435, 440 kids. And one of the things I think I'm glad to hear you say that I think is critically important for our school is that it's all hands on deck here. And so if you're, we encourage our kids to play three-sport athletes, whether it's wrestling or swimming or basketball in the winter, and then on to the spring season. And I think you hit the nail on the head is exactly. So we need our kids to get out there, compete. One of the other great things that I see that's developed over here in the last few years with the addition of the Learys is commitment by all of our coaches to lift in season, which promotes obviously a healthy lifestyle, but I think really sets our kids up for success long term in all of their respective seasons. So I'm glad to hear you say and encourage those kids. And you're right. There's certainly some sophomores that and juniors to boot that I really anticipate having great years next year.
Yeah, it's an exciting thing, and like we talked about, it's a very special opportunity when everyone's coming back, and so that's not something that really happens at the high school level, and so it's something we're excited about and something we're excited to build on.
Fantastic. Well, Chad, thank you very much for joining us this evening. When we come back, we'll have Neil Branson, head cross-country coach.
Stand by for more Gull's Nest next on 102.3 KCRX. Now, back to the Gull's Nest on 102.3 KCRX.
Welcome back to the Gull's Nest. The Gull's Nest is brought to you by Ocean Crest Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, and Cadillac. Ocean Crest's never-ending quest to provide a better customer experience has raised the bar, with their lifetime limited powertrain warranty on virtually every vehicle they sell, new or used. Ocean Crest Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Cadillac, off Highway 101 in Warrenton, home of the lifetime warranty. We're welcoming in right now is head coach Neil Branson, coach of the cross-country team, who has spent, 38 to 39, 39 illustrious years at the helm of the Gulls cross-country program. And, from a personal standpoint, I just want to take an opportunity to thank you for the impact that you've had on so many kids' lives and the positive energy that you bring to that program. So, as a fellow coach in this building, it's infectious, and I just want to say thank you very much for everything that you've done in the time that you've been here with our kids.
Well, thank you. It's the rewards, as you know, far outweigh what you put in. What you get out is 10 times more. So it's been an absolute pleasure.
Great. So huge weekend this weekend. This is really awesome opportunity.
Yeah. State meet, and we're going to go defend our title. That's the whole thing. It's been an interesting ride. With 5 of our 7 varsity boys, being dual sport athletes and tough soccer kids. So watching them go both ways, that they want to do that, and it's purely their choice, and they make the extra sacrifices. It's an honor to work with those fellas and the 3 girls that did it also. So
yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I got up this morning and worked out at 6 o'clock, and I can't even imagine going and now running a 5K, and then maybe I'm going to go play a little soccer or this or that. I mean, I'm exhausted, and it is it's only 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Well, and the fun thing was being down here on Monday and Wednesday mornings when those dual sport athletes would show up, and then they go to their soccer practices and have 2 soccer games and such. So, yeah.
So we're going to head down to Lane Community College in Eugene this Saturday. And as you mentioned previously, we're the defending state champions, not only as a team, but Bradley Reznicki, who is a senior this year, is a defending 4A individual champion. And so we have that opportunity for Bradley to defend that title. Why don't you talk a little bit about the boys team that's going to head down to Eugene this weekend and defend their title?
Okay, well, like you said, Bradley Reznicki is the defending state champion. He's our Coapa League champion. And so we'll lead off with him, so to speak. And then we have 3 other seniors, Jackson Janik, Hunter Thompson, and Juno Meyer. 2 juniors, Rafi Saboni and Colton Carter, and a freshman, Bo Johnson. And last year we had 3 in the top 10, and then I think 11th or 12th place, and then 30th and 31st. Valley Catholic, out of our league, is the number 2 team. In fact, they are rated ahead of us when they do this virtual hypothetical meet. That doesn't mean anything coming into Saturday's race. I do want to mention that because of the soccer playoff situation, we didn't know if these boys would actually be able to get to run 5 of those fellas. So we had 4 guys, JV fellows, training to fill in, to run. And that was David Swinoff, Matt Carpenter, Alex Barrett, and Sam Henderson. And they were doing everything. In fact, yesterday, even when we knew the varsity boys would be there, they were willing to do a workout. You just can't get any better than that. So the key will be, of course, for Bradley to run well and everybody to do their part. We don't need any heroes. We don't want someone going out there and saying, I'm going to be in the top 5 and burn out in the first mile and a half. But the thing is, all these guys are savvy. They're smart. They know how to race, and they're just tougher than nails. And that's what's going to be fun, to watch the race developed.
So tell me a little bit about, for those of people out there that may not know. So as a former football coach, I'm used to trying to accrue as many points as possible. And conversely, when we look at a cross country meet, and I guess I would compare it to my sad state of affair of a golf game in trying to keep that score at a minimum. And my understanding is that when you look at a cross-country score, you're trying to achieve the lowest amount of points. And walk us through how many people will actually start the race for us, and how a race is scored. And so people that may follow along on the OSAA site this weekend might have a better idea of what to look for.
Yeah, low score wins. You get a point. Whatever you place, whatever runner places, they get that many points for their team. Now, there is a thing where individual runners, they're not part of a team. They're thrown out of the formula. So a person could place 10th, and because there's 3 kids on teams that aren't full teams, they wind up getting 7 points for the team. Of the 7 runners, 5 score, and those other 2 are displaced, because if we can get a 6th place runner in front of Valley Catholic's 5th place, that pushes Valley Catholic or any other team back. So everyone is critical, and of course, if we don't want this to happen, but if someone goes down, one of those top 5, then the next your 6th runner now becomes your 5th.
So when you set out, and this is just pure curiosity on my part, when you set out, do you have a number in mind? I mean, as a coach, do you have a number in mind? We need to get to this number to be in the mix, or is it kind of fluid from year to year, meet to meet?
Well, it's definitely fluid year to year. Because of the field isn't that big. It's 125, but it is very fluid. I think you need to be in the below 50-ish or so to really be in the hunt on this, and maybe even lower this year. With Valley Catholic, it's going to be a low-scoring affair for the winning team.
Well, Coach Branson, I want to thank you for everything that you've done, and wish you and the boys the best of luck down there. I hope the conditions are ripe for us to have a stellar day and repeat as state champions.
Thank you very much.
Stand by for more Gull's Nest next on 102.3 KCRX. Now, back to the Gull's Nest on 102.3 KCRX.
All right. Welcome back to the Gull's Nest. Again, this is Jeff Roberts, principal at Seaside High School. The Gull's Nest is brought to you by Ocean Crest Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac, home of the lifetime warranty. We'd also like to thank our participating sponsors, Seaside Factory Outlet Center and Angelina's Pizzeria and Cafe. So this evening I am also joined. We're going to take a little departure from our athletic department here. First time we've done this in a little while. And I'd like to introduce one of our newest staff members, Mike Verhulst.
How's it going?
It's fantastic. How are you?
It's great to be here.
Good. So the reason we have Mike on tonight is we want to introduce to our community a new student organization that Mike has had a long history with at his previous job at Park Rose High School in Northeast Portland. Mike is bringing FBLA, the Future Business Leaders of America Club, to Seaside High School. And, he's had a strong history of success at Park Rose, where he won a state championship last year. And we're hopeful, as long as we're talking about state championships, we're going to go cross country, we've done culinary. Why not FBLA? So Mike's here to join us and talk a little bit about FBLA. So, Mike, why don't you explain to the listeners out there what FBLA is?
So the Future Business Leaders of America is the nation's largest and oldest business organization that students can participate in. The great part about the Future Business Leaders of America is that it gives students an opportunity to take what they're learning in the classroom and really put it to real life situations, and to be able to compete against the best of the best from around the state and around the nation. Recently, just taking a look at the list, Oregon FBLA has gone ahead and increased the number of competitive events to over 70 different competitive events. Students might choose from writing a business plan to creating a website, or even creating something like a 3D animation. So students are able to develop projects, to create presentations, and to be able to take that that classroom knowledge and to be able to go and compete against other teams from around the state.
Fantastic. So, as a school administrator, as a principal, or really I would hope that anybody in this community, that's an exciting opportunity. We talk a lot about the ability to transfer skills learned into a classroom into real life situations, and so that's kind of what I hear you saying, is that this is a perfect opportunity. So tell me a little bit about so if I was a student and was interested in joining FBLA and said, I'm really good at developing websites, what opportunity is there for me? What does that look like?
So there's a couple different opportunities that students can have. We've tried to set it up so there's a specific class available for those students, but obviously in a school this size, we know that options might be limited for students to be able to make sure that they have all of their other classes taken. So FBLA is offered as a extracurricular club for those students that want to participate as well. And so I think that example of a website is a great piece in terms of trying to find the passion that those students have for business and for a particular category. So if that was the opportunity, we might be able to go through and take a look at actually a couple different competitive events that deal with web design and web development for those students to be able to go through and take a look at and see what they're able to put together.
So, again, great opportunity. So if I'm sitting at home listening tonight as a parent, I'm thinking, gosh, that sounds like something my kid should definitely be doing. How does my son or daughter join FBLA?
So Real simple process. If your student is a Seaside High School student, have them come take a look at the production lab and come have a conversation with myself. Parents, if you're interested, you can do a Google search for Seaside FBLA, and you'll see our club website is available for you to be able to get some question answers there. And there's also a contact page there to be able to send me an email if need be.
So in addition to that, I'm going to outline maybe kind of one of the cool opportunities. So not only do you get to compete at really a local level, kind of I guess a league level, there's opportunity to compete at a state level as well, and even a national level?
There is, yes. So in beginning of April, all of the students that are interested in participating will head off to Portland for the state competition. We'll be competing against 1,500 to 2,000 of the best business students from around the state. And for those students that qualify in the top 4 for their individual categories, they'll earn the right to be able to represent Oregon at the national conference. This year it will be hosted in Anaheim, California. So we'll be heading off to Disneyland for a week, and hopefully we'll be able to come back with a national champion.
Fantastic. Mike, I want to thank you very much for stopping by tonight. Again, this is Mike Verholst at Seaside High School. If your son or daughter is interested in FBLA, make sure they make their way on down to the production lab and get themselves signed up for an opportunity to go to Disneyland and ride Thunder Mountain. Why wouldn't you? Again, I'd like to thank everybody tonight. Before we do sign off, I just want to give one update. The boys soccer team did fall to LeGrand 3-1 last night in LeGrand. It was a great game from all accounts, from what I understand, and a heck of a season for our boys. Congratulations, Coach Chapman and Coach Carter and the rest of the gentlemen that drove to LeGrand and participated and represented Seaside High School in great fashion. So good night, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. We'll see you all next week.
This show is also now available on our YouTube podcast archive. You'll find it at Ohana Media Group Coaches Shows on YouTube. Please like and subscribe.
Thank you for tuning in to The Gull's Nest, a weekly look at Seaside High School athletics. Join us Thursdays at 6 p.m. The Gull's Nest on 102.3 KCRX. Sponsored by Ocean Crest Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac.